I'm gonna use that to charge these.
Yeah,
We're live.
but I agree with that. Just I don't want it used as a recreational item. My problem.
Yeah, just right outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the dude. Was that the guy that?
Yeah.
That I don't know.
I thought it was at the east.
I think it was, because it was just right off the.
Big indoor facility, you can see for people going.
Yeah.
Hanging plants. They're building, the air reminded me. That type of center.
Thank you. Okay, it is 7 o'clock. I will now call to order the September 7th meeting of the Amity City Council. Please rise and join me in saluting the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Councilor Melissa Bojorquez, present. Councilor Acie Dunlap.
Here.
Councilor April Dyche.
On
She's on
Zoom.
Zoom.
Present.
Councilor Cody Goings.
Here.
Councilor Sandy McArthur. Present. Councilor Denis Saucier is absent, and Mayor Rachel Queen. Here. Thank you. First item of business is the consent agenda as presented in the packet.
I move to approve the consent agenda as published.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes. We'll move on to our citizen comments and questions portion of the evening. This is an opportunity to present items not on the regular agenda. Please state your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Tonight, we'll start off with the Yamhill County Sheriff's Office report, although I don't see them present.
I can make one comment for the sheriff's office. Deputy Summers, I'm sure many of you saw the News Register article about the marijuana bust, front page news. Deputy Summers was actively engaged in the takedown and the dismantling and mulching of all the plants. So he smelled really good for about 4 days, but he was actively involved in getting that accomplished. So we appreciate his effort there. And that's all for the sheriff's office.
If you could pass on my thanks for their enforcement since school has started. And then also, I like that they have been parking the car out front. I think that's a good visual.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions to pass on to the sheriffs? Okay. Do we have a dig report this evening?
So no, I don't think we do, and I don't know what to add.
Okay. And then I will look to the audience.
Thank you, Mayor. Hi, councilors and Mike and everybody on Zoom and the audience. My name is Victoria Ernst, and I am running for House District 24, which includes the city of Amity and West. It's new after the new redistricting, so Amity will be divided into 2 different districts with 23 and 24. That is pretty neat for the folks in Amity, I think, because the other communities that are in District 24 include McMinnville, Sheridan, Willamina, Grand Ronde, Lafayette, Amity, Carlton, and then the west rural parts of Newburgh. So it's all rural Yamhill County with a little bit of Polk County, which means that the person in this position won't be pulled towards Washington County or the coast or Salem or other parts of the state and be able to focus on the issues here. And there's a lot of issues, which I don't have to tell you all about, with water systems, sewer systems, a lot of infrastructure needs that all of the communities in this district have. And it'll be an amazing opportunity to have somebody at the state level that is just focused on advocating for those issues and bringing in more funding dollars. So that's why I'm running. I grew up in Newburgh, so my parents lived just about a mile outside of the way that the district has been redrawn. But my extended family is all from the St. Paul area, all very involved in agriculture for the past 5 generations there. So I care a lot about this community and I want to be a voice for it. I want to be a voice for rural Oregon at the state level. My background is I worked for a few years, for 6 years in the nursery industry and in the hazelnut industry. And then I became a lawyer and I practice international human rights law and I teach international law. So I think being a lawyer and having the skills and the knowledge set of how laws are enforced will also help with crafting legislation that doesn't get watered down in the courts and actually does what it's intended to do versus have unintended consequences. So, yeah, I just wanted to be here and listen to more about what's happening in the Amity. And if anybody has questions for me later, I'll stick around so we can talk more, but thank you all for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Do we have anyone else in the audience that would like to comment? Yes, please.
This is a formal greeting. I wasn't prepared for a formal greeting, but hi, guys. Madam Mayor, council members, Joanne, and I forgot your first name.
Victoria.
Victoria. My name is Lillian Engel. I live on 209 Southeast Rice, right across from the grade school. And I've been a citizen of the town for about 1 year and 9 months. So fairly new. This is my first meeting to attend. My only question tonight was, has the city of Amity ever organized like a citizen litter patrol volunteer kind of thing?
So I don't know if we have historically done anything formal. Right now, the council and community and business engagement point of contact is just working on a volunteer roster because we don't have the volunteer force we need to do these, like to build on extra projects. This is definitely something that's been talked about and that there's interest in.
Okay, so you said that the businesses have a volunteer.
So as a council, we have a business and community engagement point of contact, which is Councilor Bojorquez right there. And so we're in the process of setting up a volunteer type roster so that we have a place to get citizens together to see who's interested in this kind of thing.
Okay.
Because there has been interest, but when we've done like all calls or, you know, who wants to do this, it's just crickets. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I'm interested, and I know I have actually picked up litter when I've gone on walks. And so I'd be real interested. I could talk to people I meet when I'm walking and say, hey, are you interested? That I don't know. I would be contacting you then. Okay. And so if I could get your contact information.
It's all
Melissa?
on the City of Amity website as well.
Okay.
And right now, we're just in the beginning stages of building it, so we're hoping that it's a sign up where people can enter in their information and then they can get email blasts on events that are happening, or if we want to organize something to get more volunteers to come join and help, things like that.
Okay,
So-
and then the end result would not take place until you had enough volunteers. Is that the idea?
Well, it's also for events that the city puts on as well as businesses, hopefully. You know, the city of Amity does an annual shred day, and we do an annual cleanup day where we need volunteers, but it's not cleanup where we go out into the streets and clean up. It's where people bring all of their trash and it gets sorted.
I saw that. That was
Yeah,
wonderful.
yeah. So there's lots of events that we do need volunteers for the Daffodil Festival.
Okay.
Yeah, and then just to go in another direction, if that's something you have interest in, the city would love to partner with you in an informal way to try to just get something going now. And then we can establish it as more of an ongoing thing. But I
I'm a
mean,
much better follower than I am a leader. Just so you know.
Please tell me what to do.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, but if we have your contact information, I appreciate the suggestion and,
I have her email and I'll link the two of you up tomorrow.
yeah.
Thank you.
Because it's great to have big events and coordinate big volunteer things, but you know, if we can round up a group of people that just want to go out together, that's awesome too.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you all for listening.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Do we have any other citizen comments in the audience or on Zoom? All right, we will move on to old business, of which there is none, and into new business. And the first agenda item is the use of transportation funding for local advocacy. So this is something I brought up. We have tourism funding, and as of now, because we don't have a tourism point of contact or tourism committee, those funds sit there until groups or individuals come to us with a tourism need, and then council assesses that. We've done the banners for DIG, and the only thing that's coming to mind. There's been some other suggestions. So I just wanted to have a discussion with council as to the possibility of using those tourism funds to bring tourism to Amity. What is the feeling in that?
Refresh my memory, is it about 5,000 a year? Or is it, did it increase this past year?
Can you tell me a little about how we get the tourism funding through the tax and then what its use can be?
Predominant input to the tourism funding is transit lodging tax. So Amity Flats, the Airbnbs all produce a tax that goes into the fund, of which, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know the exact percentage, but 70%, 80% can be used for, can be used for basically anything tourism related, and 20% is automatically has to be basically reinvested into that sort of stuff. So that gives us some leeway to work. I'd have to check our, I don't have my budget on this, but I'd have to check our budget, but I think it's about $7,000 a year potentially that we get. And so, and then that money can be used as directed by council according to our current ordinances in the city charter. So in the past, that has been unofficially delegated down to me, and that so we've used it to buy the banners that are now hanging out there. We've used it to do some local advertisements, but and basically use it for functions around town that the city's engaged in. But that's basically it. So. Want to add anything? Okay. I always have to check the brain trust, but
Oh, we did use it, sorry, we did use it for like replacing the poles.
yeah. The banners.
The leaving town.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sweet. So that's a good point. We use the big metal at the old Yamhill signs. We use about $10,000 of tourism fund in the last couple of years to redo those signs and reinstall them. But we also had a significant amount of help and partnership with the old Amity Hills AVA, Gabrielle Keeler directly, and then a couple anonymous donors that I was told were in the AVA or related to the business area.
And then do either of you know what that balance currently sits at?
I would love to take 18 minutes. What, how much we have to spend out of it?
Yeah.
today?
I don't think we spent much, we're probably out of 7, we probably have 5. She'll get the exact number. I won't
I think
guess.
that's what I had in my head when we did the.
Banners? Oh, I love it.
She'll get it almost down to the nickel, so it'll be good.
It's just something to think about because we have those funding coming in, and without that committee or point of contact, I feel like to some degree we need to be proactive. We've done some advertisement in the past in the news register, but for the official visitors guide of Yamhill County, that's been done by an anonymous donor. I was also looking at Travel Oregon has like advertising options. Some of those go up to like $3 $3,300. They'll run a year long. They come out, they send people to your town, they take pictures, they meet with people. They write up a 800-word story on your town, and then it's published as well as on their website all year. So even if we don't make a decision, I think as a council, I want you all to be thinking about that and possibly even giving some direction to myself and Mike. Or we can just have it evenly.
I think we need to look at what they have for metrics and how successful that program is. It's quite a bit of money, but it sounds very well structured. I'd like to know what, they're gonna have metrics about responses and how many people visit the website, and
Yeah,
so I'd love to see some metrics on it.
and I emailed that all to myself, so I'll send it to Mike. So that he gets that.
There's 10,000 budgeted this year. Like, and I think I've already taken banners.
Yeah. Down to about, so we're probably down to about seven or six.
And then there's also the Mover graphic, which I tried to look up what advertising in that, because it's like a larger, they don't advertise their pricing. Any other?
Does that generally highlight just certain businesses or Amity as a city? Or how does it?
What I had in mind is, because before the tourism committee was disbanded, we had the new rebranding the Amity, like what is on the signs. And that is, in the past issues of the visitor guide, that's what was used. It's just pictures of the town. It doesn't highlight specific businesses. It's literally like, visit Amity. And that could be elaborated on.
I would add there was a push, and I recall this in the tourism committee, at one point of using their new Amity logo, this one, for those of you, to turn that into also the official city logo instead of the current one, which is the bunch of grapes. So that was kind of, so we would all have the same logo. That'd be something else that we could do, but that might be part of the tourism funds or maybe city budget. I don't know.
Yeah, I actually have a couple things on the same agenda item that are loosely enough related. I wanted to bring it up in this discussion, is the switch of the letterheads, the signage, that kind of thing, because there will be costs involved with that.
Yes.
And then there's also an idea I have thought about, and I've also heard from others, is like branded clothing or accessories, using that Amity stuff, because a lot of times towns have that. And then we could possibly even sell it to the businesses at cost, some of it, just to get the word out.
I think that's a good idea.
So with a lot of these things, it would just be working on it, getting more information and coming back to council with specific asks of that money. But I just wanted to know if anyone else was inclined for specific things, or if there was anything else I could have on my radar or possibly might be looking into.
I would say the rebranding would probably be a priority to do first before we advertise, just so it's a nicer product, more updated, consistent. cohesive.
And that has been used, the new branding
This one?
in advertising.
Yes, so it's been used in advertising. Is currently on our banners.
Yeah.
The masks and all these stickers that we did for COVID, we all use this logo. So our public face, what we're pushing out is indeed this logo, but our official city letterhead documents, et cetera, all used the bunch of grapes.
Okay. So I think at this point, yeah, that sounds good if we could make a switch over and see what that's gonna entail.
I'm just letting you know, I just printed a bunch of bills, and to print sets of bills, it costs a couple $1,000.
You can,
Every month or?
Yeah, our logo is on everyone's utility bill, and I just ordered $1,000 more in cost.
But is that like a few months worth?
It'll get me through the year.
We can roll it out in stages and do that as the last item that we switch
Yeah,
over.
yeah,
to
there's
billing.
no reason not to use what we have.
Yeah.
We just kind of have to, like
Say,
slowly
I
as
just
we
order them.
No, as things come up, and obviously, yeah, if it's just in everyone's mind that we want to do that switch over, then.
I think I can fumble my way through changing the letterhead on letters and documents outside of the bills on an Adobe program. Figure it out that way, so I think I can make that happen. It probably, the only cost would be my time, but that's compensated, so the other stuff, I don't know.
Okay, so
I
does-
would want to, sorry. I do want to put back out there that I still want to keep the park sign on that agenda as well.
Because that would be tourism funds.
Mhm.
Okay. So there's an option for a motion on this agenda item. Or,
But the recommendation that be adapted or modified before you do this.
yeah, or we can just give the direction to make that switch over and continue the discussion at work session, if there's consensus there. Sound good? Okay. Then do we have to move to table the item? We have a motion.
I moved to table using the tourism funds for local advertisement for further discussion.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to table this item pending further discussion. Any further discussion at present? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please signify by saying no.
Let the record show April Dyche was an aye.
The other item of new business is use of city funding to abate nuisance. Mike, could you give us it's here in writing. but-
Yes, so I didn't put it in the documents, but this was the city of Sheridan. This is their idea. They basically came up with two programs that they're implementing to try and abate nuisances throughout the town. The flyers are attached. You can see those. The plan basically is that they would pay about $500 for the rent of ecology dumpster, a mid-sized dumpster, place it in front of the house of the person who we intend to cite for junk with the motivation that if we will give you the dumpster, we will give you the means, we'll put it in front of your property. You have 72 hours, usually a weekend, to put everything you can in a dumpster. If you clean up your property and we take the dumpster away, this all gets forgotten and there's no citation. If you don't do anything about it, then we cite you. We go into the citation process. The catch, well, not the catch, but the extra incentives is that they open it up to the local, near the neighboring residences to also contribute. But the onus is upon the homeowner and the person that we intend to cite to ensure that the material that is dumped in the dumpster is approved material. So no tires, no gasoline, weapons, that sort of stuff. So that has to be, so that person would be responsible for managing the dumpster. According to Sheridan, it's worked. They've done it I believe twice or 3 times already, and it seems to be working. And they've abated quite a few nuisances that way. And it's a fairly straightforward process. All we would be responsible for would be obviously the payment, having Public Works go out and mark the area where the dumpster needs to go, so putting cones up to block off the street, and then ensuring that we're in constant communication with the person of interest or the property owner that we want to help out in this process. Everything else is taken care of by Recology, and the homeowner is the onus is on them. So that's one project. The other project, which is a little bit, I have less details on, but it seems to be one that they've worked on as well, is this $50 for an unwanted vehicle they've worked with Gales Towing, and I can contact Gales Towing if this is something you want to pursue, where Gales Towing will basically come out, tow the wrecked or junk vehicle, take it away. If the person comes in and proves that they have ownership of the car and that it's a voluntary withdrawal, et cetera, the city would pay them $50 for that, basically for getting rid of their car. And then the city would work out an agreement with Gales Towing to like reimburse losses or compensation. I don't know all the details, but it's if this is a plan we want to go down or a road we want to go down, this is something I can look into and get more details from their city manager and city staff. But these were two ideas that they come up with to help basically be proactive about abating nuisances before they became nuisances, and then we have to go through the court system and then the filing of liens and the follow through and et cetera, et cetera. So it's something that I brought up to Mayor King as to, you want to go down this path, and she said, let's bring it up to council, see if they're interested in it, and kind of get some thoughts as to this is something we want to do, and if it is, just how would we make it ours, basically. So I'll turn it over to you, ma'am.
I would just open it up for discussion, and before doing so, I had an alternate idea of that. Rather than having the open it to the neighborhood type thing, if we could have the same type of program when someone has a large issue to be abated, if we could possibly offer like to split the cost and have that on like a first come, first served basis. Because obviously maybe we won't be able to do that with everyone, but if we could budget for like the first 3 or something, so that people can apply to get help with the dumpster that they might need to take care of their issue.
Yeah, I don't, the main thing about those two programs I don't like is the city's eating all the costs. That doesn't seem right in my eyes.
So it was Heidi Bell, somebody you know who she is, that came up with it. She did the math, at least for Sheridan. I've not done it for us. Was that it actually was a cost saving when you added up the amount of time and labor that went in from the city staff. You know, basically the wages paid to city staff, code enforcement, the deputies, to basically free up our time. So in that sense, they came out ahead. Again, I haven't done the math, and I can't promise that we wouldn't be losing money if this is something we did.
Also shows good will for the community to, I definitely like to explore it. As an option. Be able to regularly post it to like the park, the tow thing, because I mean, just as a tax write-off, there's so many tow companies that are companies that will come and tow your broken car away and give you a $200 tax write-off for it. So I don't know why people don't take advantage of that.
I just worry that the towing one in particular will cost the city money to pay out to Gales Towing. And I don't think that is really appropriate when, like you said, people will pay for it. But there might be a way that we could help facilitate a program too.
I do know that Gale, just for the first 10 miles, about $100.
So so Sheridan has worked a deal, and I don't know all the specifics because I didn't want to go down that path if we weren't going to do this, but they've worked out a contract with Gales to negotiate all this and set all these details. So if we were to choose to do that, maybe we would get a discount for that first 100 miles. I don't know.
Do we have some residents that are on the borderline right now, Mike, that you know of?
Well, there's.
I'm not asking specifically, I'm just asking if we have a few houses that are in this category.
I could probably point to 5 or 6 houses that would be borderline junk nuisances that we could probably proactively work with to remove some of those. As far as junk cars, I don't know, because there's very specifics about what the junk car entails, and then what you may see as a junk car, maybe that person's mode of transportation. So I don't know that one, but I can name about 5 properties around town that we could probably use the junk help with. I will also play the other side of the coin, the idea with the dumpsters, and this was something that was brought up by Public Works when I kind of talked about, like, this is why we do the city cleanup day. That's why we bring 6 dumpsters down to to, the public works facility, is that's basically how we allow people to proactively remove their junk, as we're doing that for them. So the idea being, now we're gonna do extra ones of these. That was kind of the idea. So it was like,
Is the cost of the one-time city cleanup day is about $300 to the city just for the recology?
Yeah, I went up a little bit, it's about 400.
Because there is the option too to do it twice yearly. Citywide cleanup. We usually do it in conjunction with Earth Day.
Share to do a citywide cleanup over there.
they do. So they do this citywide cleanup, and they now initiate this program where they'll bring the dumpster to you. So Heidi said it's working, and they've proactively abated a couple nuisance properties that way. So it's working, but
They also typically have a little bit of larger lot sizes as well, right? So, do we have an annual average of what our abatement nuisance or like enforcement, how many we issue?
I haven't tallied it up, but in the last 3 years, we've ramped up, and we've probably done more in this calendar year than we've done in the last 3, for a couple of reasons. One being that we didn't have codified codes, so it was kind of a mess to determine what we should actually be enforcing. And the deputies were a little bit, unless it was egregious, the deputies were we're kind of uncertain whether we want to go down this because there's so many problems. So we've codified the code, so that allowed us to now enforce it. The second issue was with COVID, we all kind of took our foot off the gas on COVID because we knew everyone was struggling. So now we're kind of getting back into post-COVID normal ops. We're ramping up again on the thing. So this year alone, I have issued at least 12 citations for grass, junk, and combination, and one car that was then later moved. And I know our deputies have done probably that many or more on their own. So
To throw a wrench in this whole thing. What about the few people that are ordered? That's a separate problem all its own.
yes. And I would argue that, to your point, that out of those 5 properties, I've can mentally identify as probably being junk situations. 2 or 3 of them probably would be considered hoarders, and one of them would be they keep their property fairly neat, but there's just a lot of stuff. So it's, you go after them for that because it's it's kind of a well-maintained property. It's just, to some people it's junk, and other people it's clutter. So you're right. I don't know how that works. We do get, and on that point, we do give a lot of discretion to the deputies to kind of work with the people first before issuing a citation.
You're getting into a bit with crossing more than one being a miss. You also got your fire code. A lot of your orders, let's put this, but basically throwing the fire code out the window.
Yes. So, and that is what the deputies and I look at, is if we think it could be issued as a fire code, we'll go for that part of the ordinance. Again, it's a lot of it's deputy discretion as to how they want to enforce the code. We do walk that line.
And then I want to ask for some clarification based on the program Sheridan is doing. Is the person of interest and the neighborhood approached after a letter has been sent or a citation has been issued, or is this a first step?
I don't know enough to ask. I can't answer that one.
I would just, hopefully, we could offer it as a first step rather than after the legal side. Once you issue a citation, you got your legal side in. I would rather see it go in as a first step you try and get them voluntarily to clean up.
Well, yeah, and I guess that's where I had some confusion and I'm a little uncomfortable with, we'd open it up to the whole neighborhood and then how do you define that? But then the person of interest is responsible for the dumpster. I feel like most people in that situation could possibly fill the whole dumpster themselves.
Mhm.
Or if not, then they're responsible for a dumpster that other people,
I feel like that gets sticky there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
could be really easy to fill up a dumpster.
and so that, it might. I'm not sure. I think that maybe the city offering a service or subsidizing the price, like, if we could make it cheaper and have it delivered, that could be life changing for someone. Like, that could be the thing that helped them get out of their hole and avoid that. But like Councilor Going said, the city eating the entire cost.
Is there like a voucher we could do, work out with Recology to where we would pay 50% or something, or?
I can ask if this is a problem, if you want me to do more work and ask more questions and go down this path, I can ask that question. I don't know off the top of my
I
head.
mean, also keeping in mind that someone in this situation probably doesn't have the means to do that,
And that was,
even at 50%.
and that was kind of her thought was, you know, I will say this, when I asked her about this at the dinner we had, she mentioned their thought process was, this person probably can't pay the fines, this person probably can't afford to get the dumpster on their own, they probably don't have the means to take it to the landfill. So if we go down the court path, we're basically gonna be stuck in liens and processing and never get there. But if we suck up $300 and just put a dumpster in front of them, they can eliminate their process, and then also they don't have to go to court and they don't have to do any of that. So there is, that was a strong, you're right, that was a strong reasoning behind this process. So it was meant to be proactive in the sense of you do this in lieu of going to court, in lieu of citations, fines, penalties, et cetera.
I feel like we shouldn't just put it in front of them, so if they don't use it, now we run off the funds, like.
Well,
I feel like it should be an option, like, why are you allowing this, because you need help, you don't have the means to get it cleaned up? Yeah, that, okay, the city is willing to help, but if we just put it in front of the property, well, but if they don't use it, I mean, I feel like there should be some type of
Communication.
When it gets
farther down in the process.
we do have this option,
But maybe, oh, I'm sorry. When they get an initial letter, it could say, there's been a concern, or this is what we're citing you. If you'd like to learn more about the city's dumpster program, please contact City Hall. Maybe you could talk with Recology about having some sort of, like they do with the towing company through the city, so that we just have them on call. Maybe we can even get a bulk price. So that if an individual takes the initiative to, when they get that citation letter, to call, ask what resources we have available to help, then they could apply for a city-sponsored dumpster.
Correct me if I'm wrong, did Gary say that in some instances during the citywide cleanup, they will go to someone's house and fill a
Yes,
dump trailer?
I did that once myself. I drove to a person's house and we loaded the back of our little dump truck with a bunch of furniture and I drove it back. So,
And I offered that up personally last time when we were doing it. Like, if you can't get out or if you need help, please reach
I mean,
out.
is it worth just putting on an additional event and see how that goes? See how much participation we get in doing it twice a year?
I know that Carlton has done it twice a year before, and like, we did really well this last time, the first one that I was involved in, and they twice a year, no problem, people want it.
Mike, is there any chance, I'm stretching it a little bit, that we could help the person out, and I see that some of the, at the time, and this is just at the, maybe we can get some of the Boy Scouts, the cheerleaders, the football team, the baseball team, or someone to help this particular person load up the dumps.
Well, that I think would tie into what Councilor Bojorquez is working on with the volunteer list. I don't know if Sheridan does that. I'm not sure if that's something we could, I mean, we could ask, but I'm not sure how that would
All
work.
we can do is ask these different groups. We cannot promise the homeowner that we can get people.
And it would have to be on a personal level also, not the city because of liability.
I think that would be the big reason we
Like
couldn't do it.
if you, not as Counselor Dunlap, but if you wanted to offer that, then you could show up and help, or you could coordinate people, but the city can't send a group of people to do
No,
that work.
what I'm saying is, let's say, let's pick on the cheerleaders. She could call the cheerleader and ask her if her girls would like to volunteer to help this person clean up her property. Now, that is strictly, if the girls want to, they can. They don't. The city has nothing to do with it.
Well,
We just ask the volunteers for help.
I think,
That's the whole thing behind it, because not all people that are in this situation can, let's just do call a chair out because of medical reasons for some reason. That's the reason the property's gotten this position, because they're physically unable to clean it up themselves.
So I can use myself as an example. I've got a broken barbecue. It literally exploded. It's solid stainless steel. It probably weighs 200 pounds. I got it as far as my front yard. It's been in my front yard for 3 weeks. I can't get it moved. I don't have a vehicle to put it in, so I need to round up some help. But yeah, I can't do it by myself.
Yeah,
I don't know anybody to help me do it.
you're healthy, but you can't move.
A 200-pound girl now.
so would council like Mike and myself to do more digging into Sheridan's program and working out something of that sort? And, or should we talk about a secondary citywide cleanup?
I like the idea of the second cleanup more than delivering dumpsters to people.
Yeah,
I do as well.
clean up with a volunteer organization for people that can't get stuff
Yeah,
to it, like my really heavy grill that is an eyesore in front of my house, but it's not moving without somebody coming to help me.
Well, and even not formally as the city, if we were to do that second one, we could offer and try to network community members to be like, please, let's help all of our neighbors take advantage of this.
and then somehow doing a better job of getting the word out that that service is available for people to come pick up.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Because I don't know if everybody knows that really, they will come pick up stuff for them.
well, remember, it's just volunteers.
Yeah, that's true.
So
So,
when I do the advertising, do whatever, and help,
yeah,
Reach out
so
to
reach
us.
out to us, and if you would like to volunteer, to please call City Hall, please, to volunteer. I've never, I've gotten anybody on either side.
Like I said, I've had one instance where we got called and I actually drove and got all this stuff and brought it back, but that was.
Maybe back a separate flyer, like.
My suggestion is that if we're going to talk about doing a formal plan other than the second cleanup, that we take it to a work session and kind of hammer out details there. Because I think that that would be more productive to try to hammer out details if we're talking about doing something like Sheridan's plan. And maybe Mike and Rachel can have some more details at that time.
Councilor Dyche, what is your preference between working on a specific program or coordinating a second citywide cleanup at this time?
I think the second citywide cleanup is great at this time.
I will just ask for a motion on this agenda item that we will have further discussion
At work session.
at the work session.
So you want to table this one as well for future discussion? Is that the plan or?
Well, unless someone wants to make a motion that we initiate a second citywide cleanup. I mean, the floor is open for a motion.
I make a motion, we take it to the work session. So we get some more detail, and you and Mike, get what you can from Sheridan. So we can have something
Do I have a second?
I missed that, I'm sorry.
Oh, there was a motion made to table this item until the work session.
Is there, or just a work session?
Yes, which would be the 20.
But you just can't vote tonight, you have to probably bring it back to the council.
Yeah, so it would be, we could vote on something in October.
When's our, July is usually
March.
It's
Right?
usually, it's April, it's
Oh,
usually
I'm
tied
sorry.
to, our cleanup day is tied to Earth Day.
Birthday's in the spring.
Yeah, so I think it's April
Okay.
27th or something, 27th.
Yeah,
so if we were to do 2 a year, it would probably be,
November.
there's too many then, no?
It was very,
almost want to do it like
really
now.
right,
And the weather's nice.
yeah.
Well, if I could offer up like potentially do, I know we have a motion on the floor, but a second one right around now, exactly, right before or after Labor Day. And so you do one tied to Earth Day, spring cleanup, and then one that's kind of a back to school, get ready for fall sort of cleanup. Anyway, I'm sorry, the motion on the floor.
Okay. So I second to the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to table this agenda item to undertake proactive nuisance abatement until the following next work session. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes.
For the record, Councilor Dyche was an aye.
Thank you. And we are on to department reports.
City administrator report, I have a couple updates, because I always do. Number 11, we talked about Salt Creek Bridge, that if this water line being swapped over, it should have been completed today at approximately 5:30 p.m., which meant they did not have enough time to get the water sample in for testing in Salem. Therefore, we've extended the boil water notice out to Friday for all those individuals west of the city park. So we've made those announcements and told people to continue to boil water. On the flip side, we were able to remove the boil water notice for everyone on east of Hassel Lane on Nursery, because we have fixed the leak and the the sample came back good, so we're clear there. I will admit that we would not have been in as good of a situation as we are with the Nursery Street east of Hassel Lane project if it wasn't for the tremendous assistance we got from Monmouth Public Works, Perrydale Water Association, Orvac. I think that's everyone. And the help of a lot of individuals and teams from those people who came out and were actually in the ditches, working the machinery, fixing the pipe. So it was if it was just our two guys, we'd probably still be on a boil water notice and trying to plug the leak. So the support we got was phenomenal, and I appreciate it. And I've reached out to Monmouth and Perrydale, but I've gotten a reply back from Monmouth thanking them for their help, and that we would at some point deliver on a pizza lunch for their guys at our cost as a thank you. So we're setting that up now to try and take care of those guys coming out there. We all know why Salt Creek and the west of those guys are being taken care of, but the water leak, it was like old pipe, just ancient infrastructure. From what I understand, it just kind of wore. It was cast iron, probably about an inch thick, and it just wore out over time. And the pipe split about about a foot long and about an inch and a half wide in the pipe. So it had to come out, which meant we had to block off the water, pull the pipe out, insert a new pipe, reattach it. And I think we also installed a valve into the system and put it all back together, but also locates, trenching, digging it out and packing all the dirt in, almost repaving it. So it was a very complicated process, but we got it done. So I want to thank everyone for that.
Can I make a request that maybe we send a formal thank you via email or letter to them and their boss?
Emails have been sent.
Okay.
But I can follow up with an actual letter, maybe with the mayor's
Yeah.
signature.
Yeah.
I just think it's important to.
We did that this morning.
Awesome.
As I said, mentioned, I sent it to Perrydale, Monmouth, whoever it was at the, because it was just a generic email for Perrydale, but the Monmouth city manager, their public works director, and the, well, actually it was her husband, Matt Johnson, who's their water superintendent. So, so thank you to all of them. Okay, last, we also today, while we were doing everything else, a tree over on Jellison and Nursery, that was one of those old giant oak trees split in half. The tree fell over from private property, fell across our street on Jellison and hit private property on the other side of the street. So we have gone out and blocked off the road. We put out announcements. We have signs up and cones basically directing people out of the area. That it was private property, across private property. It's the property owner's responsibility to clear out the tree with their insurance and to cover any damage that the tree caused to the other neighboring private property. So we've basically done what we can. We'll monitor the situation. If they don't get it moving here soon, we may help them get along, but it's upon them to clear up the tree. But if you look at it, and if there's pictures on social media, it was a huge tree segment. So it's going to take a while to chop that thing up in the firewood. So we'll see how that comes along. And then the last one I have, which is number 12. I have the complaint here if anyone wants to read it. We have an individual who says that the downtown sidewalks are uneven and that the individual tripped over them and nearly fell. And they would like to see us fix our sidewalks downtown. Talking to Gary, that's a $10,000 potential repair because it would involve a lot of the work she identified where she tripped in other places. It's because of our street trees. So we have to figure out what we want to do with our street trees and the grates and the uneven sidewalk there. So something to think about for maybe a future meeting, work session or something, but I just wanted to bring that up because that is an outstanding citizen complaint that we have, I guess I should say, but it would be an expensive fix. And that's all I have. And I'm open for questions.
That's a very expensive fix.
And that would basically be for 2 downtown blocks worth of repairs.
We've got this one basically out front here.
Yeah, in front
You're
of.
probably talking 5,000 to 10,000 just for that one tree.
It would depend, yeah. It could be quite costly, yes.
And then I had an unrelated question, but it is for you. So looking through the Keller invoices, I was paying attention to the Salt Creek one, and they're at 100% on everything except for the construction phase, which makes a lot of sense. But they're 45% the way through their construction billing on that. What happens if we need more work for them? So I'm asking about this project, but all the projects on there. So they've got to their 45%. What if they get 100% and we still need them? Is that just we keep paying out? Does it move to a different area of their billing?
We still have $1.8 million for the Salt Creek Bridge project on loan and grants, so we could still potentially draw on that and pay them. If they are still providing work, we would still need to pay them and be negotiating where the money came from. The reason they still have leftovers because they need to come. If everything went as scheduled and planned today, they should be done until October of next year when they got to put the pipe back. So hopefully we won't have too much work for them to do between now and next October.
Okay, because I realized that business Oregon loan will be drawing from that all throughout this project, and that can go to Keller, but my main concern is that they will be needed more if they're already at 45%, and we have a year and a half to go.
There is that potential, yes, if something gets screwed up, but, and I can't predict that, but at the same time, their only main requirements are bridge, getting it off the bridge and getting it on the bridge, and we basically have completed the off the bridge, so there's no more need for their input until they get back to the point where the bridge is completed, and they got to put the pipe back on the bridge. So I think we shouldn't see too many costs associated with Keller for the next 8-9 months, and then when they get closer to the finish line, we'll probably see them billing us more for it.
Okay. Thank you for the reassurance on that. I just didn't know how much, but
Well, now that I've said it to
anyone's guess.
well, now that I've said it to the universe, I'm sure the whole thing will collapse and we'll have a tsunami and we'll be paying them for 20 more years. So
And then the only other Keller question is if you've heard wastewater facilities plan update at all.
no, I have not, and that's one of the things I need to ask about with them.
Do we have to wait for, like, with the wastewater? What is the other?
The rate study.
The rate study, is one dependent on the other, or are they both in?
No, we should, and that was the other one I was going to ask about. We should be getting the rate study in the next month or two. Although the rate study, they were given almost until the middle of next year to complete the rate study.
Yeah,
So they have plenty of time.
but they can finish without the facilities. plan.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions for Mike? Tasha, we got your report. Do you have anything to add? Any questions? We got Gary's report. Are there any questions? Library updates? Any questions or anything to add?
One comment for the library that, which I don't see in here, there are some closures coming up because we have both librarians taking alternating vacation days and doing trips, so there'll be some staff shortages. So we posted dates of when the library will be closed.
Any other questions for department reports? All right, we'll move on to our last section, business from the mayor and city councilors. Council President Dyche, do you have any comments for the good of the order?
Our fire crews that have been out on conflagration came back today, but there is another fire that just popped up, so they may be leaving again. And there's high fire warnings this weekend, so everyone please be on alert for that. But otherwise, I have nothing.
Thank you. Any questions for Councilor Dyche? Councilor McArthur?
The other thing I have is I did reach out to a grant writing specialist for recommendations on who we can reach out to for help purchasing signs for leash law and our or what seems to be a dog park now.
Do you, so you're looking for specific grants and opportunities?
Yeah,
for that?
yeah. She would know a good opportunity of who to reach out to, so that would actually listen to us and that awards those types of grants. So that's where I'm at. I just have not heard back from her yet.
Thank you. Anything else or any questions for Councilor McArthur? Councilor Bojorquez?
Nothing else.
Councilor Dunlap?
No.
Councilor Dyche?
I just have one thing to add. The pipe that broke yesterday, we were talking, and that replaced the wooden water main that was out there, and we couldn't remember if that, so that cast iron was installed in 1925 or 1932. We couldn't remember which one it was, so that's pretty cool.
Wow. Yeah, he was in the bed. I know, and I was just gonna,
Picture.
I was gonna use this opportunity to thank you for being part of the superhero crew that saved our day. You know, there's a good network, but we're really reliant on knowing that we have support when we need it, but that was above and beyond. So the city appreciates having those helpers in time of urgent need.
Definitely urgent. Yeah.
It was, no. So thank you again. And we'll send out a more formal thank you as well. And then with that, it is me. I have nothing additional for this evening. Any last comments for the good of the order? Do I have a final motion?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes. Thank you all.